2024 was a roller coaster of a year for the gaming industry, especially in the VR space. This last year continued the trend of mass layoffs, even as big tech companies and gaming publishers posted record-breaking profits. If you had a favorite game from this year, chances are at least a few, if not many of the developers who worked on it, have been laid off. We're nearly a decade since the launch of the first round of consumer VR headsets, and as far as the tech and the games for it have come, it still feels like it's in its infancy, and even more troubling, like it's still struggling to find its audience. Apple finally released its long-awaited VR, spatial computing platform, and for a totally reasonable price.
Apple Vision Pro starts at $34.99.
And it's been killing it in the sales charts. Sorry, correction. It's been absolutely murdered by the sales charts.
Wait, what is that even supposed to mean?
But seriously though, Apple must have known the sales of this thing were going to be pretty abysmal considering it's the same price as a used car. Or a half dozen eggs in this economy. Sony's PSVR2 has been out for well over a year now, and at times it feels like Sony has all but abandoned their headset with a conspicuous absence of any first-party titles. There was a $200 price reduction for the holiday season, but it's been speculated that it was more of a maneuver to clear out inventory than an actual showing of support. Things are looking better over at the Meta side of things. At the end of 2024, they released an actually reasonably priced headset with their budget version of the Quest 3, cleverly named the 3S. At launch, it was ranked as Amazon's highest-selling game console, and on Christmas Day, the Meta app needed to activate the device was #1 in downloads. The end of the year was jam-packed with one major release after another, bringing in some major franchises like Metro and the Arkham series. But just about all of them have either released with mixed reviews or are criticized for having a buggy launch. Before I get into my best and worst list, I'd like to preface it by saying I did just start this channel at the end of this last year, so I didn't have the time or the resources to play everything that came out this year. Also, this is my personal list, and opinions are subjective. So just remember, if you do disagree with anything that's on this list, then you're objectively wrong, and I'm 100% correct in everything that I have to say. With that out of the way, let's start with my worst game of the year. There's a lot of shovelware out there, and fortunately I've been able to dodge most of it. The Quest port of Hitman 3 is one of the ones I wish I had dodged, and one of the few games that I actually refunded. Just about everything with this game felt broken and ugly. I don't have anything against cel shading per se. I think it worked fine for things like Jurassic World Aftermath and Lies Beneath, but it really didn't work for this one. You can tell that its art design just wasn't meant for that particular aesthetic, and was slapped on after the fact just to try to get this game to run on mobile hardware, and it barely runs at that. A choppy frame rate and crowds that phase in and out of existence. XR games really bit off more than they could chew here. And considering that it was hyped as having mechanics that were built from the ground up for VR, this had some of the most janky and unpolished gameplay I've ever experienced. IOI, the developers of the flat screen game, are handling the VR conversion set to release on PSVR2 later this year. Let's hope the third time's a charm. Moving on to my most disappointing game of the year, things actually get quite a bit better. I said in my review that I thought Behemoth was a good game, maybe even great, and with subsequent patches, the combat has dramatically improved. But my core issues still stand. The game does boast some fairly impressive graphics, with pretty looking skyboxes, but the overall world design just felt bland, and its story and characters never felt captivating or engaging. However, the combat is fun enough that I think most people will enjoy it, especially if they're into melee combat and want to swing a sword around. Also, 3 of the 4 giant behemoths really do provide a fun spectacle, and their scale is something that can only really be experienced in VR. I will say, when my most disappointing game of the year is still this good, I call it a pretty good year for VR overall. Perhaps one of the most hyped features of the Quest 3 before its launch was its mixed reality capabilities, and so far it's been fairly underutilized. Fortunately, it looks like that is starting to be remedied, and my favorite from this last year was Shattered. This horror-themed escape room-style game was virtually stealth-dropped toward the end of last year, and it's one of the more unique uses of MR that I've experienced so far. Want to perform an autopsy right in your own living room? Then this might be the game for you.
You're not alone. She's here too now.
VR as a platform is somewhat overrun with horror games, and most of them play exactly the same. So maybe that's why Madison VR had so much trouble gaining traction this year. Also, the flat screen version released all the way back in 2022, so I'm sure that took some of the wind out of its sails too. I played it a little bit at launch and recently started a live Let's Play, and it really does offer something different from the countless zombie shooter clones and 5-minute haunted house experiences. In Madison, there are almost no jump scares, relying instead on its thick atmosphere and unsettling story to provide what might be one of the best horror experiences I've had in VR. Next to Alien Isolation, of course. But if you're looking for a genuinely horrifying experience and you just scored a VR headset for Christmas, you'll definitely want to check this one out. It's available for PSVR2 and PC. Unfortunately, there's no Quest standalone version available at this time, but just a few weeks ago, Perk Games announced that it will be coming over to the Quest 3. However, there's still no confirmed release date.
This cannot be real. So this fucking camera belonged to that woman. Why is this happening to me?
By all accounts, Batman Arkham Shadow should be my #1 game of the year. But after seeing reports of a few game-breaking bugs, as well as a developer roadmap that has significant content being added this month, I decided to put my playthrough on hold and wait for a more polished and complete experience. However, the couple of hours that I have spent with the game have been nothing short of amazing. And as a huge fan of the Arkham series, I can't wait to jump back in and actually play this game all the way through. It's the next game I have planned for a full live stream playthrough, so make sure you like and subscribe to my channel so you can join me for that one. It's going to be a lot of fun. My runner-up for Game of the Year was the last major release of 2024. I had been waiting for a native Alien VR game, and Alien Rogue Incursion definitely delivered the goods. Not only is its art direction steeped in 80s retro-futurism, its level design feels like a throwback to games from the 90s like Doom 3.
Doom 3 didn't come out in the 90s!
Wait, Doom 3 came out in 2004? Ahem. Its level design feels like a throwback to games from the 90s and early 2000s, like Doom 3 and Resident Evil. You can hear me gush about this game's art and level design in my totally timely review I just released. Anyway, it might be one of the games I had the most fun with this whole last year. Without a doubt, my totally official Game of the Year for 2024 is also the sponsor of today's video! Gorilla Tag VR! And I'm not just saying that because they paid me 10,000 hot coins.
Fuck! Dude, spit on that thing!
Yeah. Spit on that thing. But Gorilla Tag is seriously so much fun. You get to run around like a gorilla, tagging people. And it's multiplayer, so you get to meet some really cool people too.
Shut up!
I mean, just look at it. Doesn't it look like so much fun? Dicks out for Harambe. Alright guys, that's a list. Make sure you smash that like button like I smashed your mom last night. Peace out.
That's what people say. You're flying high in April, shot down in May. But I don't let it get me down, 'cause this whole world